I just found out my wife secretly transferred $250, $0 of our savings into her sister's name last month. Then I discovered she's been secretly signing divorce papers while convincing me to buy her a $150, $0 house. I think she's planning to take everything, including our family home. I never thought I'd be the guy writing about how my wife turned out to be a liar and a cheat, but here we are. The most unexpected thing I ever saw was her secretly transferring $250, $0 of our savings into her sister's account last month. Yeah, 250, zero. Just vanished from our joint account overnight. I found out because I was going over our bank statements trying to get a grip on our finances, and I noticed a huge withdrawal that I didn't recognize. It was labeled transfer, but it was way more than normal. It was almost like she was preparing for something big and I had no idea what. We've been married for about 7 years now. I thought we had a good thing going. I mean, sure, we had our fights, but nothing that seemed like it would blow up our entire lives. Always acted like she was on my side, the perfect wife, bitchy when she wanted to be, yeah, but she knew how to keep up appearances. Still, I'd noticed her acting weird lately, late nights, secretive phone calls, and a lot of excuses about work stress. She'd say she was just stressed out from her job as a marketing executive, but I could tell she was hiding something. Then came the real bombshell. A few days after discovering the transfer, I started digging deeper. I needed to know what she was up to. I pulled her phone records, and that's when I saw the texts. I saw her chatting with some guy named Jake, an old college buddy she claimed she hadn't seen in years. Only their texts weren't just friendly. They were flirtatious, suggestive, talking about meeting up, secretly, and all kinds of sex talk. It was obvious she'd been cheating on me for at least a couple of months. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I confronted her that night. I didn't hold back. I threw the phone on the table and said, "Who is Jake, who you been seeing behind my back?" Her face went pale, but she quickly recovered with her usual bitchy attitude. "That's none of your business," she snapped, trying to brush it off. "You're just paranoid, you're overthinking everything." But I wasn't buying it. I could see the guilt in her eyes, and her words just sounded hollow. She insisted she was just talking, that it was nothing serious, just some old friend catching up. But I knew better, and then I found out about the money. The transfer wasn't just some random thing. She'd secretly moved $250,000 into her sister's name. I couldn't believe it. That kind of cash doesn't just disappear without a reason. When I asked her about it, she shrugged and said, "It's an investment. I'm helping out my sister. You don't need to worry about it." Yeah, right, helping her sister. My wife has never been that generous. She's always been materialistic, obsessed with designer clothes, fancy vacations, and a big house. The idea that she'd secretly give away that much money without telling me or planning some huge payoff just didn't add up. What really made my blood boil was the way she lied so easily. She kept insisting she was innocent, that I was overreacting, that I was jealous and paranoid. Meanwhile, she was secretly plotting her escape, I could tell. She'd been pushing for us to buy that $150, $0 house, saying it was our future. But I now see it as her way of securing her assets, maybe even planning to leave me high and dry once she's got everything she wants. I felt like I was living with a stranger, someone who'd been hiding a completely different life behind my back. I couldn't sleep after all this. My mind kept racing. How long had she been lying? How many other secrets was she hiding? I started to piece everything together, and I realized I'd been blind. I trusted her, and she'd been betraying me in the worst way. I was furious, heartbroken, and honestly, feeling pretty stupid for not seeing the signs earlier. I kept asking myself how I missed all the warning signs: her late nights, her evasiveness, her sudden interest in buying property without my input. That's where I am now, just trying to understand how someone I loved and trusted could do this to me, how she could lie so effortlessly, cheat on me, and then try to gaslight me into thinking I was the crazy one. I don't know what's coming next, but I do know that I can't stay blind to her lies anymore. I have to figure out what to do, whether to fight for my marriage or walk away from this mess. But one thing's clear: secrets have shattered everything I thought I knew about her, and I'm left picking up the pieces. After uncovering all this, I felt like my world was crashing down around me. The more I dug into her texts, her bank transfers, the clearer it became that wasn't just hiding an affair. She was actively planning her escape, and I was just a fool who had been played. The worst part was the money. That $250, $0 transfer. It wasn't just a random gesture or a mistake. It was a calculated move, probably to give her sister a head start, or maybe to stash away some cash for herself once she was free. I decided I had to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I couldn't just accuse her blindly. I needed evidence, and I needed her to slip up. I started recording our conversations, hiding my phone when I thought she wasn't looking. I also kept a close eye on her movements, her phone, her emails. I needed to catch her in the act if she was planning something big. And I was right, she started acting even more suspicious. She'd get defensive if I questioned her about her whereabouts or her phone. She'd make up lies, saying she was at work late or visiting her sister. But I knew better. One night I followed her. She said she was going out with some friends, but I knew that was a lie. I waited outside her sister's house in my car for nearly 2 hours. That's when I saw her arrive with a large bag, looking over her shoulder like she was afraid someone was watching. She went inside, and I waited until she left again. When I finally broke into her sister's house, I found receipts, notes, and more bank statements, proof that was planning to take everything and run. She'd been secretly signing divorce papers, trying to cover her tracks, all while convincing me to buy that house. She told me it was our future, but she was just planning her escape route. The next day, I confronted her again, this time with everything I'd uncovered. I told her I knew about the divorce papers, about her secret plans, about the money. Her reaction was priceless. She tried to deny everything, but her voice cracked and her eyes darted around nervously. "You're crazy," she snapped. "You're just jealous. I don't know what you're talking about." But I wasn't buying her lies anymore. I pulled out the evidence, screenshots of her texts, bank transfers, the receipts from her trip to her sister's house. Her face turned red with anger and guilt. She yelled, cursed me out, called me paranoid, insecure, stupid. I guess she thought she could keep lying her way out of it, but I'd had enough. I felt a strange mixture of rage and sadness. Rage because she'd betrayed me so badly, and sadness because I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. It hurt to realize that the woman I married was capable of such deception. I'd trusted her with everything, my money, my heart, and she'd been secretly planning her escape for months. I was furious that she'd been lying about everything, even our future plans. She kept insisting she was innocent, that I was overreacting, but I knew the truth now. She was cheating, stealing from me, and plotting how to leave me with nothing. That night I couldn't sleep again. All I could think about was how I got so. I kept replaying her words, her lies, trying to figure out how I missed all the signs. How did I not see her sneaking around? How did I not realize she was plotting her way out? The betrayal cut so deep I felt numb. It was like I was living with a stranger who wore my wife's face. I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again, especially not someone I thought I knew so well. I also started questioning myself. Was I blind, weak, too trusting? Or was she just that good at hiding her true self? The more I thought about it, the more I realized how much I'd been played. I'd been the fool, the one who thought we had a future. Now I was faced with the reality that she might leave me, take everything, and start a new life somewhere else. And honestly, I don't know if I'm ready to let her go just yet, but I do know that I won't be part of her plan to screw me over. I'm at a crossroads now. Do I fight for the marriage? Do I try to save what's left of it? Or do I cut my losses and cut her out of my life? The thing is, trust is gone. The love I thought I had feels like it's been shattered into a million pieces. I don't know what's worse, her betrayal or the fact that I still care enough to feel this devastated. I never thought I'd be the guy who gets cheated on, who gets played like this. But here I am, trying to piece everything back together, knowing deep down that nothing will ever be the same again. After gathering all the evidence and confronting with everything I'd uncovered, I thought I'd feel some sense of closure. Instead, I was just filled with a kind of hollow rage. The betrayal was so deep, so calculated, that I couldn't sleep or eat without thinking about how she'd been lying to me for months, maybe longer. The fact that she was secretly signing divorce papers while pretending everything was fine was the ultimate slap in the face. I felt like I'd been played for a fool, and the worst part was that she still acted like she was innocent, like I was the crazy one. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just sit around and let her keep planning her escape while I was left in the dark. I started making plans, but I also had to keep my head clear. I couldn't let her see how much I was hurting or how angry I was. I needed to think strategically. First, I contacted a lawyer. I didn't want to jump into anything too quick, but I knew I had to protect what was mine. I explained everything: her secret transfer of money, her affair, her plans to divorce, and made sure I had documentation. I also started taking steps to freeze our joint accounts, just in case she tried to drain everything before I could do anything. Meanwhile, kept up her act, pretending everything was normal. She was bitchy, dismissive of my concerns. She throw tantrums, accuse me of being paranoid, and tell me I was overreacting. She insisted the money was a gift to her sister, that the affair was just a mistake, and that I was just jealous of her success. But I knew better. I knew she was lying through her teeth. I'd caught her in enough lies now to know that she was capable of anything. Her bitchy attitude just made it worse. She was terrible at hiding her contempt for me, always snapping, always condescending. One day, I decided I needed to see what her next move was. I set up cameras around the house, especially in her office and the areas where she kept her phone and laptop. I wanted to catch her red-handed if she was planning to leave or make any more secret moves. Sure enough, within a few days, I caught her on camera meeting with a man at a local hotel. They were kissing. I had the proof I needed. It was official. She was cheating on me, planning her escape, and lying to my face every step of the way. That night, I confronted her again. I told her I knew everything: the affair, the money, the divorce papers. Her face went pale, but she tried to act like she wasn't bothered. She threw a fit, screaming that I was stalking her, that I was crazy for spying on her. She called me possessive and jealous, but I didn't care anymore. I laid out all the evidence on the table and told her she had two options: either tell me the truth or I was going to take legal action. I was done playing her games. Her reaction was a mix of anger and panic. She started crying, saying she was sorry, that she didn't mean for it to get this far. But I was beyond caring about her excuses. I knew she'd been planning to leave for months, selling assets, signing those divorce papers, secretly transferring money. I told her I was filing for divorce. I told her I'd take everything she tried to hide, including the money she transferred, and I'd make sure she paid for everything she'd done. In the days that followed, I hired a forensic accountant to trace the money and to see if there was any more hidden assets. I also started the process of separating our finances. It was a mess, but I had to do it. I realized I couldn't trust her anymore. Not with my money, not with my heart. I started to feel a strange sense of relief, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even realize was there. But underneath that relief was a deep, aching sadness. I still loved her, or at least I thought I did, and now I was losing her for good. The thing that hits hardest is the realization that the woman I married was a completely different person from who she pretended to be. She was manipulative, selfish, and willing to lie and cheat her way out of everything. It's like I was living with a stranger all along. I'm trying to process all of this, trying to find some sense of peace, but it's hard. Every time I think I'm starting to heal, something else pops up: another lie, another betrayal. I keep asking myself how I let it get this far, how I didn't see the signs earlier. I trusted her, and she took advantage of that trust. Now I'm just trying to pick up the pieces, figure out how to move forward, and make sure she doesn't steal anything else or hurt me more. The worst part is knowing she's probably already planning her next move. The divorce is happening, but I wonder how much damage she's already done and what kind of mess I'll be left to clean up. Honestly, I feel like I've been punched in the gut, but I also know I have to be strong and get through this, no matter how much it hurts. The days following the confrontation felt like walking through a fog. I was numb, but at the same time, every nerve in my body was on high alert. I had the legal steps in motion, but emotionally I was all over the place. Part of me still couldn't believe she'd done this. how she'd planned her entire escape behind my back, secretly siphoning off our savings, cheating on me with some guy she barely even tried to hide. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever feel normal again. I started to notice more small things: her attitude, her dismissiveness, the way she'd brush past me like I was nothing. She was so bitchy, so dismissive, like I was just some inconvenience she wanted to get rid of. It was clear she'd been planning her exit for a while. She'd even started talking about moving out, about starting fresh, like she didn't care how much she'd hurt me in the process. I saw her packing some clothes into suitcases, and I knew she was preparing to leave. She'd even made arrangements to stay at her sister's place temporarily, as if that was supposed to be some kind of safe haven for her. I was furious, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized I'd been holding on to a fantasy, that our marriage was some perfect thing that could survive anything. Turns out, was never the woman I thought she was. She was manipulative, sneaky, and willing to do anything to get what she wanted. I kept telling myself I had to stay strong. This was about more than just her cheating. It was about protecting myself from being completely destroyed. One night, I decided to confront her again, but this time with a different approach. I sat her down and told her I knew everything: the affair, the money transfer, the divorce papers. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, like she thought she could still spin her lies. I pulled out the evidence I had collected: screenshots, bank statements, her secret trip to her sister's house. Her face twisted into a mix of anger and guilt. She started yelling, calling me paranoid, insecure, and crazy. She said I was possessive and controlling, that she needed to breathe. But I wasn't buying her crap anymore. I told her that I was done playing her games. I told her I was filing for divorce and that I'd fight for everything, including the money she'd transferred and the house we bought together. I told her I wasn't going to let her walk away with everything, and if she tried, I'd make sure she paid the price. Her bitchy attitude only got worse. She started crying, cursing me out, saying I was ruining her life. But I didn't care. My mind was made up. I couldn't trust her anymore, not with my heart or my money. The next few days were chaos. I hired a forensic accountant to trace the money, to see if she'd hidden anything else or moved assets around. I also began the legal process of separation. I knew she was trying to get her ducks in a row, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it that easily. I started documenting everything: her behavior, her lies, her secret meetings. I wanted to make sure I had all the evidence I needed to protect myself and my assets. Meanwhile, was still trying to act like everything was normal, but I saw through her. She was bitchy, dismissive, and angry, like she hated that I was catching on. I could tell she was panicking. I could see it in her eyes when she thought I wasn't looking. She was trying to cover her tracks, but I was one step ahead. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I had enough evidence now to prove she'd been planning her escape for months, and I was ready to fight for what's mine. I kept thinking about all the promises we'd made, all the plans for our future. It felt like a kick in the stomach to realize she'd been lying all along. She convinced me to buy that house, our dream home, while secretly planning to leave me. That house was supposed to be our future, but now I see it as her way of tying up loose ends, of making sure she had something to take with her when she left. I was furious that she'd manipulated me into thinking she was committed, all the while she was secretly signing divorce papers and scheming her way out. I don't know what's coming next. Part of me still hopes she'll change her mind, that she'll come clean and admit everything. But I know deep down that she's already made her decision. She's just trying to save face, to pretend she's innocent. The truth is, I've lost trust in her, and I don't think I can ever get it back. I've learned that people can hide their true selves very well, and that sometimes love isn't enough to survive betrayal. I'm trying to stay strong, but inside I feel broken. All I can do now is prepare for the storm ahead and hope I come out of this with some shred of my dignity intact. The longer this dragged on, the more I realized that bitchy attitude wasn't just her personality, at least, not entirely. It was her way of deflecting, of hiding her guilt. She'd throw tantrums, call me crazy, and act like I was the one overreacting. But behind all that, I saw her panic. She knew I was onto And she was doing everything she could to keep her plans hidden. That made me even angrier. She'd been lying to my face for months, probably longer, and now she was trying to spin it all around like I was the problem. I decided I needed to take control. I couldn't just wait around for her to leave or for her to get her act together. I called my lawyer again, pushed for a quick divorce, and made sure I was documenting every move she made. I told her I was going to fight for the house, for the money, for everything. She scoffed, called me jealous and possessive, but I knew the truth. She'd been planning to screw me over from the start. The fact that she was secretly signing divorce papers while convincing me to buy that house, that was the last straw. She'd been planning her escape all along, and I was just a pawn in her game. One night I caught her trying to pack more stuff. She was sneaking around, acting like she didn't think I was watching. I told her to stop. I told her I knew everything and I wasn't going to let her walk away with my money or the house. She started yelling at me, calling me controlling, paranoid, and crazy. She said I was ruining her life, that she deserved better, that she was just trying to be happy. But I didn't buy her crocodile tears anymore. I saw her for what she really was, a liar, a cheat, and someone willing to destroy what we had just to get what she wanted. I also started to piece together her entire plan. She'd been secretly signing divorce papers, trying to hide her intentions. She transferred the money, bought the house, and arranged her escape, all without telling me. The more I saw, the more I felt like I'd been played for a fool. I was furious that she'd been so manipulative and selfish. I realized I'd been blind, that I'd trusted her even when I shouldn't have. That trust was gone now, shattered beyond repair. I decided I had to act fast. I contacted my lawyer again, told him to start the legal process to freeze the house and any assets she might try to hide. I also hired a private investigator to follow her, just to be sure she wasn't making any last-minute moves. I knew she was desperate and I didn't want her to get away with anything. Meanwhile, she kept up her bitchy act, throwing fits whenever I tried to confront her. It was almost like she was trying to push me away, to make me feel like I was crazy for suspecting her. But I was. I knew she was guilty. Every day I felt more betrayed. The woman I loved, the woman I married, was now a stranger. She'd been lying, cheating, stealing. Everything I thought we had was just a facade. I kept asking myself how I'd missed all the signs, how I'd been so blind to her true nature. It was a crushing realization. I'd given her everything, my trust, my love, and she'd used it against me. Now I was left to pick up the pieces, trying to figure out how to move on from this nightmare. Honestly, I don't know what I expected to happen next. Part of me still hopes she'll come clean, admit everything, and maybe even try to fix this. But deep down, I know she's already made her choice. She's leaving, taking everything she can, and I'm just here trying to hold it together. All I can do now is prepare for the fallout, protect myself legally, and figure out how to get through this. I never thought my life would turn into a nightmare like this, but here I am, fighting to save what little dignity I have left, knowing that the woman I loved betrayed me in the worst possible way. The final stretch has been a whirlwind. After everything I uncovered, her affair, the secret transfer of funds, her attempt to sign divorce papers behind my back, I knew I couldn't just sit around and let her walk away with everything. The legal process moved fast once I had all my evidence in order. I filed for divorce, and my lawyer started the proceedings to freeze assets, including the house she'd been so eager to buy. Every day, I felt like I was walking a tightrope, angry, betrayed, but determined to come out of this with some shred of dignity. Of course, didn't take it well. Her bitchy attitude only intensified as the reality set in that she might lose everything she'd been plotting for. She threw tantrums, yelled at me, accused me of controlling her, of making her life miserable. But her words didn't matter anymore. I saw through her, her lies, her manipulations, her desperate attempts to hold onto her plans. I knew she was trying to spin her actions as innocent, but I wasn't buying it. The evidence was too clear. The hardest part was realizing how much I'd loved her, or at least thought I did. All those years I'd trusted her, believed in us. Now I see that the woman I married was just a facade, someone capable of lying, cheating, stealing, and betraying the very vows she took. It hurts more than I can put into words, knowing I was blind to her true nature for so long. But in a strange way, I feel like I've also gained clarity. I see her for what she is now, and I know I can't rebuild what's been shattered. As I write this, I've finally started to feel some relief. The legal battle is almost over, and I've managed to protect most of what's mine. I get moments of peace, even a little hope that I'll come out of this stronger. I've learned a lot about trust, about the warning signs I ignored, about how dangerous it is to assume someone's intentions are good just because they act like they are. I've also learned that revenge isn't always about fighting back, but about reclaiming your life and dignity when everything feels lost. Looking back, I realize I was lucky in some ways. I caught her before she managed to take everything, before she could completely destroy me. I've come to accept that some things are beyond repair, and that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away. I'm still hurt deeply, but I'm also hopeful. Hopeful that I can rebuild my life piece by piece without her lies weighing me down. To anyone going through something similar, I'll say this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the little signs that something's off, because, in the end, they might save you from a lot of pain. Document everything, protect yourself legally, and don't be afraid to fight for what's right. Love is fragile, and sometimes the biggest act of self-love is walking away from someone who's been lying to you all along. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll be okay. I'll rebuild, I'll heal, and I'll learn from this nightmare. Most importantly, I'll never forget that I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. Things I thought I had, but turned out I never really did. And while it hurts to say goodbye to the woman I thought I knew, I finally see her for who she truly was, and that's the first step toward moving on.